Hey everybody, it's Carolyn from Homesteading Family. And have you ever heard of bread soup? It sounds really simple and it doesn't sound very appetizing, does it? So welcome back to our series on using all the little bits and all the little tips so that we can save money on our food budget and we can, more importantly, make our time stretch further by being more efficient with the resources that we have. So we have been looking at different ways to use up all of the little bits of something that we already have in our house, bread. And if you're making your own homemade healthy bread, then you really want to get every little bit out of that bread in order to make your energy stretch as far as it possibly can. So today we're talking about a method of using up bread that we don't hear a lot about anymore. And that is called bread soup. Now, I first heard about bread soup by reading an old Civil War era cookbook. And this is one of the truths about bread, is that when times get hard and people don't have a lot to eat, good, healthy, homemade bread can sustain you for a long time if it has to. It may not be very exciting, but it can actually sustain you for long periods of time. And the Civil War soldiers would often be hungry. They would be starving. They didn't have enough food brought into them during different points of the Civil War. And so one of the things that they would do is they would just take a piece of bread and they would tear it up. Oftentimes this would be their hardtack, which would be a very dry bread. It would be like the sandwich version of biscotti, doubly dry, so that it would travel well and last a long time. And they would just tear that up. If they were lucky enough to have some dried meat or any dried vegetables, they would just put that in there. And then they would cover that with hot and boiling water. Now, it doesn't take very long for this to start breaking up, that bread to really start breaking up. And what it will do is it will form kind of a porridge or a gruel, kind of the texture of like a cream of wheat, only maybe a little runnier. So it changes that bread into something that's different, probably warming if it was done warm. And, you know, definitely nourishing, but maybe not all that appetizing. Now, I don't know about you, but I would not be super excited to have this for lunch. Now, one of the things that it really does do though is it thickens up the liquid that it has been steeped in. So there are some wonderful ways to use this that taste really good and will help you get a really quick lunch on the table. And I'm going to show you one of them right now. All right, now here we are, we're ready to get started. And I'm gonna make this as simple as possible, but go ahead and feel free to tweak this and add in any other vegetables, anything else that you want to make this absolutely delicious. So I just have one onion here. I have a good couple of handfuls of spinach. I have some nice shredded chicken. This is from some of the chickens that we've raised and butchered. And then it's just been cooked down. I like to keep some extra chicken in the refrigerator for easy grab for quick meals throughout the week. And then I have my leftover bread that I have been saving whenever I get a piece of crust or a little bit of pizza crust that somebody doesn't eat, any little bits and edges of bread that I find, I make sure to get those into a plastic Ziploc bag and get them in the freezer until I'm ready to make something with them. And then I've got something on hand and ready to go. So I'm just gonna take my heavy bottomed pot here and I'm gonna get that warming up as I get going. Now this is gonna be like the 5-minute lunch, maybe 10-minute. And I'm gonna take an onion. Don't be afraid to use the whole thing. That'll just make it really healthy and really flavorful. And I am going to just put a nice dice right on that. Now, if you had carrots that you wanted to put in, you had some celery, whatever you want to put in there, you are completely welcome to just put right in at this stage. All right, and just a nice dice right there and on the other side. And this is a great meal to have for immunity boosting too, because all of this onion just makes you so healthy and strong. And I'm gonna try not to cry because it's being so strong and healthy. Okay, so now my pan has started to heat up just a little bit. I'm gonna take just a little bit of fat. In this case, I have a little bit of olive oil. You could use some butter, whatever it is that you have on hand. And I'm gonna go ahead and toss that onion right on in there and get that cooking. All right, now while those onions are cooking, I'm gonna go ahead and just put a nice light cube on this piece of bread. And you know what? I think I want just a little bit more because I do want this to thicken up quite nicely and have a nice texture to this soup. There we go. And just set that aside, and I'm gonna go ahead and chop just a handful of this chicken just a little smaller so it's easier to eat when I've got it in the bowl. All right, now we're looking for whatever vegetables that we put into our pot to get just slightly soft. Just to a nice level of eating. They won't cook long after they have just gone through this initial saute. So you want to get them to right where you would enjoy cooking them. And you know, for onions, that's just, so you want to get them right to where you would like to eat them at. And for onions, that's really fast, really quick. You could toss some garlic in here too. You could do all sorts of stuff. Now I'm just gonna go ahead and toss in my chicken. And give that a little stir, just to mix those flavors together really nicely. Okay, and then I'm gonna add my bread right on in. And you know what? I'm gonna go ahead and put that spinach in right now so it wilts down really nicely. And just give it all a nice quick stir. And now for that secret ingredient, that really good home canned chicken broth. And if you are not canning your own chicken broth yet, you really need to start. I will put a link at the end of this video or in the description to a video that I have showing you how to can your own chicken broth. Okay, now this is all ready to go, and I'm just gonna go ahead and pour this chicken broth right on over. There we go. Now by the time that broth has heated up sufficiently to be good for eating a hot soup, those bread cubes are gonna start breaking down and they're gonna start thickening up the whole soup to make a nice, quick, easy lunch. Now, the last thing you need to do here is get any seasoning into this that you would want. For me, I prefer just salt and pepper. So a couple finger pinch of some salt there, probably about 3. That's probably about a teaspoon of salt there. And stir that on up just to mix that in. And we're gonna top that with some coarsely ground pepper. Now, do you see how quick and easy this was? This is so simple, and it's a great way to utilize that thickening power of that bread. Now, no bread soup for you. You can put all sorts of delicious things in here and just toss in a piece of bread to go ahead and thicken it up. You can use this method for a larger pot of soup, and if you're going to be cooking it for a while longer, not such a quick soup, then you can just toss in whole pieces of bread and it will start to thicken right up and you'll have a lovely texture to your broth. Now I've got myself a really nice lunch here, so I'm gonna let this thicken up and warm up just a little bit, and then I'm gonna go ahead and sit down with a bowl of it for a nice lunch. Thanks for joining me, guys.